Yesterday, the sister of Stacey Abrams, that ultra-leftist radical from Atlanta, Georgia, who's seeking to cook the election results on January 5th with regard to the Georgia runoffs for 2 Senate seats. Her sister made an outrageous, illegal, and unethical ruling which refused to allow rotor rolls to be purged in the state of Georgia for people that no longer even live in the state of Georgia. This is yet another example of the judicial corruption on the federal bench in particular. It's why I wrote the book, It Takes a Revolution, Forget the Scandal Industry. It's dedicated to Thomas Jefferson, who predicted that federal judges, unelected, unaccountable to the people, would become despots and tyrants, such that we'd have to wage a new bloody revolution nearly every 20 years. And he added, what's a few thousand dead to refresh the tree of liberty? Well, I'm not advocating a violent revolution, but here's what I am advocating, because President Trump now is calling people to Washington, D.C., in effect, to walk around aimlessly protesting the massive fraud that occurred during the November 3rd, 2020 elections. As with many of the things the president's doing these days, he lacks focus. He doesn't lack bad advice. That he gets repeatedly from the people that he hired, primarily having seen on Fox News, people who know little to nothing about what they're doing, including the appointment of federal judges, because his federal judges are nearly as bad as the federal judges of Clinton and Obama. We can see that because they stabbed him in the back during the various election challenges of this fall, as well as the Supreme Court. Justices Gorsuch, Kavanaugh, and Barrett, disgraceful examples of judicial lack of courage, deceit, corruption, and lying, threw him under the bus. So much for our so-called Supreme Court. So much for our 3 branches of government, which aren't worth, excuse the French, an shit, corrupt to the core. Well, the people now need to rise up, and that's why I wrote the book. It Takes a Revolution, Forget the Scandal Industry, because we have to do it for ourselves. And the president's concept of a so-called protest on January 6th, the date that Congress will vote to install Joe Biden and that evil witch Kamala Harris, pathological liar by and large, the brain-dead Joe Biden, Manchurian candidates to allow rabid leftists to inhabit our so-called government and ship of state, which will push us into socialism and communism in short order, if they're not already there. Well, let's use that protest in a positive way. And here's what I'm suggesting. Hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people should encircle the White House and say to the president, stay in the White House until we have fair, free, and fraud-free elections. Do not leave. Invoke your executive powers under the Insurrection Act. In effect, declare martial law. Do not move. Stay there. We will protect you. And if anyone taking orders from Biden or Kamala Harris seek to use violence on the American people who are exercising their God-given right to protest and to rise up, such as happened with the Communist Chinese in Tiananmen Square in the early 1990s, and fires on we the people, then we have a Second Amendment right to defend ourselves. I do not believe that will happen. I believe that the military and the police will side with the American people and with the patriots. But that's something that we can do short of a violent revolution, nonviolent, like Henry David Thoreau at Walden Pond, a book that we read in high school. Of course, kids in high school don't read books anymore. They just tweet and text, which is why we're in such difficulty. Another reason why, because of the uneducated populace which is growing up in our country. But that being said, this is something we can do. In addition to the citizens' grand juries, which Freedom Watch and Larry Klayman are implementing to hold the criminals in Washington, D.C. and the state capitals accountable, criminals like Comey, McCabe, Biden's, the Clintons, the Obamas, the Clappers, the Brennans, the whole lot of them. This is something that we can do short of that violent revolution predicted by Thomas Jefferson. So I call on hundreds of thousands, if not millions of Americans to go to Washington, D.C. on January 6th to support the President of the United States. And while he's not a political messiah, and while even if he remains in office, he'll only be there for 4 years, he's a million times better than the Manchurian brain-dead candidate Joe Biden and the evil witch of a pathological liar Kamala Harris, who are going to communize our country, squeeze God out of our daily lives, insert government as the God, a la the Bolsheviks after the Russian Revolution. And believe me, I know all about that. My grandparents fled communist Russia. They know what it's about. No longer alive. May their souls rest in peace. But they were smart. They got out. Well, we don't want to get out of our country. We want to save our country. And that's why you need to rise up. And these are my suggestions on what we can be doing. The president needs to have a plan. He has not had a plan. He's just thrashing around with texts and tweets, getting angry at everybody. But now we, the people, must rise up. Go out and get my book, It Takes a Revolution. Forget the scandal industry. You can get it at Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, all major booksellers. Read Klayman's manifesto. You may not agree with it. If you don't or have other suggestions, email me at leklayman@gmail.com. That's Larry Elliott Klayman, L.E. Klayman @gmail.com. Because now is the time to rise up. Now is the time to try men's souls. We cannot be summer patriots and some sunshine soldiers. We need to take our country back. It is on the edge of turning into a Bolshevik communist state under the evil Democrats, which will soon inhabit the White House if we don't do anything about it. Thank you for listening to me. Remember that God is with us, God and his Son, but only if we help ourselves. And stay tuned and see what I have to say in tomorrow's podcast, because this is an evolving situation. It's an emergency situation. And for now, thank you for listening to me.
At LL Flooring, we're pros at helping pros find the right floor for even your pickiest clients. So if they want waterproof flooring, but it's got to be sturdy so their dog can jump around without making a mark, and strong enough to handle the broken no cleats in the house rule over and over and over again, all for a great price? That's easy, because we can help clients stay on budget while delivering on quality they want. Why else would we have over 400 floors? These are the floors homes are built on. Lumber Liquidators is now LL Flooring. LL Flooring.